am Jennifer Lee, Senior Admin Evangelist, and this is How I Solved It. We work in Salesforce for our companies or clients, but did you ever think of using Salesforce for your very own use? In today's episode, we'll see how Rachel Park Brayboy used Salesforce to keep track of her mass orders. Today, I'm joined by Rachel Park Brayboy, Salesforce consultant, Golden Hoodie recipient, and leader of the LA Architect Group, and a newly minted Salesforce MVP. Rachel is also a small business owner and the creator of Park Puff Seatbelt Pillow. She is my Asian sister from another mother. I'm so happy to have Rachel help me close out my very last episode of How I Solved It. Welcome, girl.
Thank you so much, Jen. What an honor to be your final guest. Thank you for saving the best for last.
So in addition to doing Salesforce, you're also a fashion designer. Rachel Park Designs and the creator of Park Puff, a comfortable seatbelt pillow for cancer and surgery patients. First, congratulations on being almost 8 years NED, or no evidence of disease, as a breast cancer survivor. How do you even find the time for these small businesses? You are one busy lady.
Well, I'm a creative at heart. I've been sewing all my life, and I was actually a fashion design major. So I need to stay creative. I get bored really easily. So it helps me to, it helps me in my Salesforce life to continue to not lose touch with my creative side as well. So I love being able to balance both.
And how did you get involved with Salesforce, and what's your origin story?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually want to go back to pre-Salesforce days when I was working in the business office of a school, and I was tasked with helping the teachers with their summer purchasing. And it was a really not efficient process. Part of it was on paper, part of it was in the computer. We had to have an extra resource come in for a couple of weeks just to help us. And I just went to my boss and said, please let me redo this in some way so that it's more efficient. And thankfully, she was amazing and supportive and sent me to a class for a week. And I went and did that. And I came back and I completely overhauled that system. When we reintroduced it to the teachers, normally the summer before, it took about, I think, 2 weeks to get it all done. I did it in one afternoon. And when I told my boss, oh, we're done, she was like, oh, so for the day? I said, no, we're done. She didn't, she was astounded. And I think that for me was a spark for becoming a proud database stork, and was just like, wow, this is amazing what a really well organized and designed system could do for the users. The teachers were so thankful. I used to joke with one, what are you going to do with all your free time now, right? So for me, that was really the seed, I think, that started that spark. And then in a future position, I was actually a temp at a nonprofit, and they use Salesforce. So I think it was just a natural transition and next step. And I started as a power user. I was just really good at reports. I helped a lot of users with their reports. Our admin was super busy and she didn't have time for everyone. So that's how I really started getting more into that side. And then the next place I was at had a Salesforce team. And I was like, how do I get there? And I knew I wanted to get there, but wasn't sure how. On paper, I made no sense. But I pitched myself to the Salesforce team leader anyway. And at the time, there was no open position. But she remembered me a year later when there was, and that's how I became, I like to actually call myself an intentional admin, because I knew that's where I wanted to be. And I knew I just had to figure out how to get there. And that's why I always recommended to Salesforce noobs trying to come into this space, you should always apply for the job, even if it's not listed.
And I love that, the intentional admin. So I know you're passionate for nonprofits. Can you share with us recommendations on how nonprofit admins can get started?
Yeah, it's actually funny because when I started, there was no Trailhead or social media. It wasn't that easy to find community, find resources, especially for free. I didn't even know about DevWorks for a while. So it's really amazing now with Trailhead and all the resources that are out there. And they have a lot of amazing nonprofit success pack or NPSP trails out there. There's a brand new one I actually would love to recommend called Begin with Nonprofit Success Pack. And it really goes over a great high level overview of all the different ways that you can use in PSP because it is a distinct data model and the architecture is different. And it's really important to understand that before you go work with a nonprofit.
So during the pandemic, some people binge watch shows, some people took up bread making. Share with us what you did during this time.
Yeah, I remember feeling a bit of pandemic pressure during all that, right? Like, just because we had time, so to speak. I felt like when you went online, everybody was baking bread or learning something new. And I just felt like I was being super lazy, right? I think I just wanted to help and wasn't sure how. And I asked my local hospital, you should always call them first, about masks. And at the time, they were only accepting N95s and surgical masks. So they wouldn't take cloth masks at the time. And then I think in April of 2020, when I'm in LA and the LA mayor did a call out for the public to be wearing masks when they were out. I think I just sprang into action. I wanted to use my sewing skills for good in some way. So I made a couple samples. I put them on social media to gauge interest and then just made them available on my website and took it from there.
Great. So Rachel, we're excited to see how you built the solution. Can you show us how you built it?
I love to show how I solved it, Jen. So first, you should start with a dev org. Dev orgs are great. They're free. They're a great way to test functionality, really figure out your use case, and to, really test things before you commit to a full org. So this is actually my dev org. I decided I needed to use the orders object because I have a lot of orders were bought as gifts. So the shipping and billing contacts were different. My masks were actually get one, give one. So for each mask that was purchased, one was also donated to someone on the COVID-19 frontline. So essential workers, medical staff, and cancer patients in active treatment. As I was doing this, I realized that I needed to track the donated mask as their own SKU and also their own order, because for reporting purposes later, I needed to make sure that I really, truly understood how much I was donating in terms of quantity and value. So that's something I realized as I was building, which is what's so great about a dev org, because you're just testing and you can figure this out as you go. So for demo purposes, I've already created an order, a test order to start with. So you can see this is a brand new order with 0 amount. And I'm going to go to the order products related list and you click add products. And just a tip that order products and opportunity products can only have one price book attached to them. So I've already created a standard price book for my Salesforce org. So you'll see the products that you have available. And for this one, this is my purchased order. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick the adult face mask. And so the flow that I created has allows you to clone multiple product lines at once. And this is a huge help because a lot of people ordered in bulk. I really didn't want to be bogged down with administrative tasks. I needed to get these masks made and out the door as fast as possible. So this flow was a huge help to me. So we have this field called how many lines. And you can see I'm going to actually put 2 for this one. And then I'm going to go into quantity. Quantity will always be 1 for me because I want them to be individual lines. And what I wanted to do is make sure that I was tracking the fabrics that I was sending out. Every mask was 2 and 1. I wanted to make sure I was sending out unique masks to people because a lot of people ordered repeatedly. So I wanted to make sure that I was tracking that in some way. And I just found it a lot easier actually to not have individual SKUs for every single pattern I was sending out. Again, speed was the concern. So I actually just wrote it into the standard line description field. And I'm going to leave that blank because it's going to be different for each line item. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now, if you look what happened, remember we only put in 1 line. I'm going to go ahead and hit view all. But since I said how many lines, I wanted 2 order products. It's created that for me, right? So this is great. This is what we want. I have some people were ordering at least a dozen. So this was a huge help for orders in bulk. And then just to show you an example, then what I would do is just go in and just update the line description, right? So here we can see the how many lines that we had put in. And this is where I would just say something like, what fabric did we use, right? Okay, and then I did that one. And you do have to do it line by line, but think of how much time we've saved by having everything else filled out for you, and all you have to put in is the fabric, correct? Well, okay. Okay, and there you go. That is our purchased order, right? Okay. So now I want to create the donated order. So that's going to be slightly different. I'm going to go back to this customer. Okay. And there's just some other test orders already in here. I'm going to hit new for another order. And this is where we're going to do our donated order. I'm just going to relate it to the same organization. I have different statuses here. We'll just say it's pre-production. The last one, since it was a purchased order, that would have come from my website. So since this is donation, you just want to make sure that your Salesforce is actually donation. So go ahead and hit save. Okay. And now this is going to be our donated order. So again, we're going to go to add products. And this time we're going to add the donated products, right? So I'm just going to do maybe 2 adult masks, right? And you can see the list price is different here, right? It's actually the value, but it's negative because I want to track the actual value that I was donating. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. I'm going to do 2 lines for this one as well. Again, we want 1 because we want individual lines. And I'm going to leave the fabric blank. And you can see the unit price is different. Go ahead and hit save. Okay. And on the previous order, if you, let me just flip back here so you see how the order amount is actually $30. But if we look at our donated order, it's actually negative $30. Now, what happens if we put that on the same order? It's going to zero out, right? And that's what we don't want. I want to make sure that I truly understand the overall value of what I was donating. So that's why in the end, I decided donated orders had to be on their own. Donated masks actually had to be their own order. So again, we're going to just put in the fabrics for these. Let's give them, and so you can see that I had originally put in 2 lines. So you can see that here and how many lines. And I'm just going to add some colors here. That's 1. Same for this one. Make some fabrics up. Okay. And there you go. So that's our donated order. And then if you go back, there's already a few. And this was actually their brand new customer. I have a field called order type that tracks that. I didn't put it in for the ones we just created, but that tracks that as well. So I could tell if someone was a repeat customer or a new customer. So this was actually really helpful for reporting. And then here you can see the values are different. The purchased order was a positive $30 and the donated one was a negative. And then another thing I want to show Jen was the view. So now if you go to our orders view, go here. And this Kanban view was so helpful to me as I was doing this, because it just really helped me see at any point in time what production status these orders were in, especially the ones that hadn't been shipped yet. Who was it related to? Was it a purchased or donated order? I could see that easily from here. So this view was just also a huge help as I track these masks at the height of the pandemic. Okay, and now that I've shown you the front end of what I built, let's take a look at the back end of how I solved it. First, I want to give a shout out to Flowsome, who had a great blog post about creating multiple opportunity products. And that was really an amazing starting point for me. Even though I was using orders, it's very similar. And so I used that as a starting point and inspiration. And I did have to create a custom field called how many lines, and it was a number field for this flow. So the Flowsome flow was a great starting point and inspiration. I actually don't have a traditional sales cycle, so I don't use opportunities. That's why I actually use the orders object. It allows me to have different shipping and billing contacts, and all of my sales are always going to be closed won. So for me, orders was actually a better standard object to use. So we actually created this flow on the order product junction object. And this flow is going to kick off when an order product record is created. And I created, remember this number field called how many lines. So when how many lines is greater than 1, we want this flow to kick off. If we're just doing 1 line, there's no need for it to clone multiple order products. So that's why it would only work. It would only trigger in this situation. So first, I just want to share a variable that we created. It's a number variable, and it's looking at the value of the how many lines field that we had to create. So the first decision point is looking at the counter variable. And if it's less than or equal to 1, it's not going to clone order products, right? The second outcome, if we put in a counter greater than 1 and how many lines is 2 or more, then we want it to clone the product line. So if the counter is less than or equal to 1, we just need it to update the 1 order product record that it created. And so we set the default value for how many lines to 1. But what if we put 2 or more? Then it goes to the second outcome, and it needs to create all of those order product records for us, right? So let's just scroll down, and you can see all of the different values, field values that are mapped from the original order product record that's created to the multiple line items that it actually creates. And I do have line description in here. I know I kept it blank, but sometimes I did want to repeat the line description if, it was for bulk. Maybe someone was buying a set for a lot of people and they wanted the fabrics to be the same. This actually was helpful to have the line description in here mapped as well. But since it's often unique, I just don't always put in the line description to keep it unique, but it is helpful to have the option as well. So I just wanted to show that. And then in this assignment element, it's taking one off of the counter variable, and then it starts the process all over again. Jim, that's how I solved it.
Thank you, Rachel, for showing us your solution for using Salesforce and automation to help manage the demand of your beautiful COVID mask during the pandemic. It was great having you as my very last guest on How I Solved It. I absolutely loved the tee you wore on your Be a Trailblazer video that you shared on LinkedIn. The tech looks like me because representation matters. And I love seeing more people like us showing off their Salesforce skills.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen. What an honor to be your final guest.
You just saw how Rachel used her flow skills to help her automate the order process for her mass orders at the height of the pandemic. You can always find videos like this at admin.salesforce.com and also by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Salesforce Admins. And that's a wrap. Thank you for watching the How I Solved It series hosted by yours truly.
Awesome admin.